Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, here is how to set up your flight rudder pedals. This particular guy, flight rudder pedals, should be there on your computer. I'm using mine. Double click. In case it gets messed up, you should see this. Okay, and you go to programming in the upper right here. Programming, click on that. So then, really, you should be able to see I'm pressing on the left rudder, pushing it forward, and the right one, and I see that all going on. If I click the left toe, press down, see that, click, and right toe. And you're supposed to be able to change stuff. Really, it's just a way of checking it. Maybe even, you know, this should just work. You shouldn't really have to mess with anything here, and there should be no point. But now you can do stuff like this, which I don't know, like it doesn't really do anything right here. So, test, goodbye. Just seems to find the mouse. So I kind of find this useless. But you can go click on these little guys here and change things about, and really, I don't know what major point that is for anybody. Maybe the better way to check it is to press Windows key and P at the same time. Is it? No, it's Windows key and R. Is it? I can't remember now. Yeah, Windows key and R. Like, so sort of like you consider it like a meta run. So you come up with run and you type in joy.cpl, which is already here because I use it a million times. And you can see there it is, joy.cpl. After I press Windows R at the same time, and then you press OK, and you see this. And this is what I have on my computer, all the game controllers. That's what R will show you. So right now, I got the flight throttle quadrant. I got 2 of those. And I got the T-Flight HOTAS X, which is, if we look at the properties, that's the joystick, right? You can check everything on that. So I'm just pressing button 1, which is the firing button, and I'm moving around on the point of view hat on top, and you can see that all works. You can see that the throttle works because I'm just moving it, and you can see the slider that's on the throttle. We can move that back and forth. And the Z rotation, that's when you twist the joystick for rudders, and that all works. Then you can see the arrow in the middle or the cross, and that's moving around like it should. So you can test that way. And the other thing you can test is the flight rudder pedals. So I'm going to click on that, and you can go to properties. And now I'm clicking on the left toe. I'm just barely pressing it, and now I'm pressing right down. You see how that works nicely. And the same thing went out with the right toe. That's going up and down. And the rudder, I'm moving it back and forth, all the way to the left, back in the middle, all the way to the right. It should work nice and smooth like that, and no sort of jumping around or anything. And that's how it works. You can do it all at the same time, or so much, or whatever, like that. And that will show that it's all working like it should, right? If you see these arrows, or this red bits going up and down, and you can control them nicely, like I'm on a quarter of the left toe. I got a quarter, I got a half. I can keep it at a half if I'm careful with my feet. 3/4, full. If you can do that kind of thing, then it's all working. With the jumping around, probably just not working. And you could also fix your dead zones, but I leave that for flight simulator to do. Okay, so that's how you do your game controllers. So why don't I pop out again, just to remind you, you go find the flight rotor pedals and double click and go to programming, and then you can do it that way. Press the left, the right toe brake, and the rotors. That really doesn't do you much. Maybe sometimes you find out that works when other things don't. And the other thing you can do is press the Windows key and R at the same time and type in, so you get run, the little run window, and you can type in joy.cpl. And when you got that in, press OK, and you'll get all your different controllers, and you can click on properties for them to test them out. And like if you want to click on advanced It just, yeah, that doesn't do anything really much. It just tells you what your preferred device. So just the properties should work. Okay, you can also do some of this in Flight Simulator. So I'm going to start up Flight Simulator here and show you some stuff in that for the settings. In case your settings get messed up. Okay, so if you go to Option Settings, or probably the better way is just, I'll just back out of this. Goodbye for now. Just waiting for that. Okay, end flight. Now my settings are different than yours, so please don't go change settings around unless you really have to, because what you'll find out, and I'm going to show you what happens and how you should recover from it, is your system will crash. Okay, so you go to settings, and there's 4 spots. You can do the customize down here, which customize all these display settings. There's your display settings. Graphics, aircraft, scenery, weather, traffic, that's display settings. Press customize for that. And the other ones are sounds, controls, realism in general, and scenery library. So really, most of the time you don't have to mess with this, but you can press controls, and you can also see here where it says controller type. You can also change amongst them. And these are the ones that I have. I have my 2 throttles. I have my joystick. I have my rotor pedals, or your rotor pedals, and the mouse, right? And most of the pilots say that basically in Microsoft Flight Simulator, the way the sensitivity works is that it actually is kind of a delay or a lag. So you should have it turned full up, so there's no delay from your input into the joystick to the response in the computer system, and you should have your null zones turned right off. And that's what almost every, I don't think there's any pilot that actually uses this that says anything different. So that's what you should have it on. Sometimes the controls are a bit funny, and you might have to put a null zone in so that they will settle into deciding that they're in a neutral position or whatever. That's the only exception. So all these ones that I've got here now, I don't think I have anything that's set up anything differently. If you can go, I'm going to the flight throttle quadrant. Now they're a little different. And the rotor pedals. Now the rotor pedal guys give you specific advice how to set up the rotor pedals, and so I've set it up according to the way that they say. But maybe it really should be sensitivity right to the right and no null zones. So this is what they say. And it's not too bad. It's mostly like what people say it should be. So I got the brakes set for something like 80%. You can see there. And the brake on the right is about 80%. And there's no null zone on the brakes. And the rudder is a little bit less sensitive and has a little bit of a null zone in the middle, so that your rudders will, as long as you're not, you can push a little bit, but as long as you don't push too much, your rudder will be still in the middle. And you can calibrate these guys up here. So like if I wanted to calibrate the rudder pedals, or if I wanted to calibrate the flight throttle quadrant or the joystick, but you can go up here. So let's pretend that we're going to calibrate the rudder pedals. So I got them up here on the controller type, because it's easy to get confused and you forget which controller type you're looking at. So make sure it's the right one, flight rudder pedals, and calibrate. And then you go back to this silly guy. So it's the same thing almost. Game controllers. It's Windows. It's nothing to do with this game. And then you can pick again the flight rudder pedals. And I guess you go to press OK. I bet you disappears. Okay, so, all right, I've done it before. Properties, yeah, and there's a test. So, flight rudder pedals, yeah, okay. Strange. Anyway, I'm pressing the rudder, going back and forth, and I'm pressing, that's my left toe brake, going back and forth. I'm pressing down, I'm letting go. Now I press the right toe brake, I'm pressing down, I'm letting go. If I'm going to press the full left rudder, it disappears. That's in the middle, full right rudder. And the settings, that's where you can calibrate it. And it goes through all that. But I'm not touching it, because I think you really don't have to touch this, but if it goes really strange, maybe you can. It'll solve a problem. But that's how you do that. If you want to go to the joystick instead, you go find that, T-Flight HOTAS X, calibrate, and you pick your T-Flight HOTAS X here, and you click properties, and then you see the same thing that we had before, and you go to settings and you can calibrate, and that will take you through the whole thing. What you usually do with joysticks is leave it in the middle, move it all around every which way slowly, as far from the middle as you can, and make a square, and then you put it back in the middle, and every time you do these 3 steps, and you press the button afterwards. But you can play with that. If you do it wrong, then your joystick will be kind of hard to use. Okay, so that's what you can play with there. All right, I'll talk about customizing a little bit. Depending upon what sound you have, you can play with this. And if you don't want your engines to overpower everything, you can hardly hear anything else going on, like the wind or other noises or people talking on air traffic control, you can change that. Now, I think mine is okay for me, but I like to hear the voices, so like from air traffic control, so I make them the loudest. The environment is like things like the wind, so I put that a little bit lower. And the cockpit is like noises of you clicking switches. And the engines I don't like to have very loud, so I turn them down. So you can do that too. Controls, we're already there. Realism is really, it's not that hard to fly a plane and be stupid. And it's on full realism, so why not? So that's what I fly, and that's how yours is set up. And for a lot of these planes to work, you have to have auto mixture turned off and unlimited fuel. And you can't have auto rudder turned on because, gee, you just hooked up rudders, so that's not going to work. So that's basically how you set up your realism. And it also gives you an idea. These planes are fairly realistic how they fly, depending who makes them, right? So A2A is known for really accurate planes, and a few other people do as well. There's a general realism, or general settings, so you can sort of pick them. And usually, because I fly old planes, I have feet and inches. You can change that too, right? Or you can change it back and forth. Okay, and scenery library you don't really have to mess with. And this is just like when you buy add-on scenery. So like I bought Fly Tampa, Toronto, so I had to make sure that this appeared here. It should appear automatically. If it does, but you can turn it on and off. And so if I click this, you'd never see all the fancy Toronto stuff. You just see what comes with Flight Simulator normally. So cancel. Okay, so when you change your display settings, all these guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you go here. And basically, you don't want to change this very much, because if you do, the system will start crashing. Because that's basically what I have yours set at as minimum amount of crashing that I could, and I tried a bazillion different things. So I put a lot of work into it. Please don't change it. This is my settings. But, you know, if you want to have, I also save a setting file too. But like the way people play with this is they will say if you wanted more buildings, you move that to the right. And scenery to be more complicated, you move that to the right. And that kind of stuff. But the more you move this, the more your computer's got to work, the harder your video card has to work, and the more likely that you're going to run out of 32-bit memory. Your computer won't run out of memory, but this program will, because it can only set aside a certain amount of memory for itself, because it's only 32-bit program instead of a 64-bit program. So there's only so much memory that it can, so much memory space that it can address. To use the fancy computerology terms, okay, or computer science terms. So, and same thing with the weather. Now that's something you can play with, but it will tend to cause crashes too. And like on my system, mine sucks. Yours, I think you can turn it up a lot higher than what I have. I got mine down a lot compared to what yours is, I think. But you can play with this a little bit, and it's not too horrible. And the traffic, they say, it's the same idea. If you have too many other airplanes flying around, it can cause crashes too of the computer program. So the same thing. So that's something that, you know, it depends. If you want to have a busy airport, maybe you can turn that off and turn off other things and things like that. But basically, try to leave it the same as what I have, or at least make sure you know how to load up the file. And I'm not too picky about how I save the files, but you can see here under display settings for save and load. So, like in this, my computer, usually you go with the last date. That's probably the one. That's the one that you should use. Like, I try different ones. So, see, I got 5 there, and then I've got an extra one. So, actually, I don't even know what's what. But what I have right now is good. But if I mess it up, I can try one of these. And I should really rename them to something. This is perfect. Another one this is a little aggressive and might crash more and things like that. Okay, so that's about it for the settings. That's something that really, hopefully, you don't have to mess with, but you should know a little bit about it and be able to learn. And speaking of learning, there's lots of stuff here to learn. I know you think you know it all, but nobody on the face of the earth does. There's always more you can learn, and you should humbly try to learn as much as you can without killing yourself and while still having fun, but you should try to learn. And there's lots of things here that you can learn about. Just even a little bit a day, every day, it all adds up. It's like practicing the piano. You can do a little bit of piano practice every day, and you can learn. But as soon as you start getting lazy and you forget about it, then you're not good at playing the piano anymore pretty soon. And same thing with learning anything, or the same thing with being a pilot. Okay, look at that. Well, your computer has run out of available memory. Please restart Flight Simulator and select different graphics, scenery, or traffic settings. This is the error that I'm talking about. Oh, gee, I should thank these guys for doing this. And we weren't even really doing anything. It just decided. So what happens? You just lost everything, and you got to go back to square one. So I'm going to just press OK. Goodbye. So now I'll just start up again. Steam edition. And try to get back to that. But I'll show you if you're flying and it keeps doing it every time. You probably got to turn something down in your settings. But it might still happen every now and again. Usually when you're, like if you've been away from all the airports and you suddenly come on an airport, especially Toronto, that has a lot of buildings or things that are simulated, and as soon as you get a certain distance from the airport, the computer program will decide, okay, I got to start simulating the airport. Then look out, because that's when it's probably going to crash, because it's going to start trying to render all these objects and run out of memory. So when that happens, there is a little trick so that you can take up your flight exactly where you left off. Though if you're too perfect about it, you'll take up exactly where it crashes, and you'll be crashing every time. But you know, that's whatever. You got to try to work around it. So how can I make that happen? Probably when I'm slewing, but that doesn't seem to work with me. I don't know why. It just goes crazy. So let me see now. I'll load. So I only got one plane set up at Toronto, I think. Sort of. Okay. Say if I load that one. You can also save flights yourself, so you don't have to go trying to set up something over and over again. You can save where it starts and things like that. So like this plane, I said, I'm going to start, you could say start at the active runway, or you can choose what gate to start with, or what ramp, and all this kind of thing. And what's the weather like, and all different stuff. Oh yes, I have to show you that. Okay, so here we go. Wait. I'm not going to fly the plane, but hopefully if I do the slew by pressing the Y button, you can see what I'm talking about, because I'm going to try to make it crash, the computer program, not the plane. So here it comes. Wait. Because when that box appears that says, oh, we ran out of memory, the program is actually still running. So you can save where you are right now, and then hopefully load it up and take over from where you were. And then let's say you were flying from Toronto to St. John's and you almost landed at St. John's, but it crashed, the program crashed. Well, you could save where you are and then sort of restart. Okay, let's see. Now if I press Y, oh yeah, it's just going to fly away. That's crazy. It's not supposed to happen.
Career mode off.
Now, because I'm in the middle of the building, it's probably going to, okay. Hopefully. So let's go up a little bit or something. There. Press Y. Why is it doing that? I'm using the keys now. left off. I also bought some fancy trees too. It's not the best. Where's it to? Okay, I'm trying to make this go up. Okay, that's why. Okay, okay, there's the, okay, I'm making it sort of work, but then it takes off. It's something to do with the joystick, I think. I don't know what it is. So here we are going like crazy. This will make a crash, actually. There we go, yeah, okay. So this is what happens. But if you go down to, it says here, your computer has run out of available memory. It really hasn't. There's lots of memory. I could even show you, I'm not going to. These are Star Flight Simulator, select different graphics, scenery, or traffic settings. But this system, 32 bits, I forget now. I think it's only 2 gigabytes it can address at maximum, so it ran out. So here, look, if you go down to the bottom, and here I see where Microsoft Flight Simulator is on the bottom, and you can see it has 2 windows that belong to it. Now, look what I've got done. So if I click on just this little Flight Simulator Steam Edition, just once with my mouse, click, now it's going on. Now I go again, and I just hover my mouse there. You see we're sort of still there. I'm going to press the semicolon key, click, and then everything sort of goes. If you wait long enough, you can move your mouse around or whatever. You'll have your save. And and then I have to wait more for my mouse to come. I have different types. I used to call them foo or foo bar or some silly name. So I know this is, or you could call it crash. And then I could say, okay, I'm going to save this. Okay, so I'm just overwriting foo again. The same foo. Okay, do you want to overwrite it? Yes, I do. Basically, is what it's asking. So say yes. Just give it a couple seconds. Now it should have it saved. It doesn't matter what you do now. Now, if you try to go back to the game like this, it's just going to be bad. Bad news. So, and you can also see like the run out of memory, so there's no textures being rendered on the plane and things like that. So just press escape, and you have to start the program all over again. So, or you know, you can do it this way: escape in flight, or you can navigate by using Alt-Tab to get back to your error message, your error box, and press OK there. If you don't want to wait for all this stuff, which I'm going to try to do. There it is. But here, Alt-Tab. This other stuff is still down here, sort of. And press OK. So now just give it a couple seconds for Windows to close, and then you can, or Microsoft Flight Simulator to close, and then you can start it up again. This is something you're probably going to learn, especially if you're doing it half seriously, and then you're getting ready to land. You spent a couple of hours flying the plane exactly the right way, and then it's going to, computer program is going to crash on you. Oh, what a pain. So it's nice to be able to save it like what I just did. So now I'm going to load. Let's see where I found that too, right here. Load. Foo. And there we are. We're still maybe in slew mode. And we're right back where we left off. The only thing is sometimes when the program starts up, the engines might take a little while to get started up again, and a few other things like that. So you have to watch those things. I noticed on some of the planes from A2A simulations still, they might even get damaged in that process, so you have to be careful and maybe do certain things and have them ready before you unpause the game, right? Because it usually will start up paused, like we'll see now. Another second here, now it should come back. There we are. So I'm going to hop inside of pressing S. Yeah, so like if you found with this particular plane that some weird thing happens and you need to, you know, have a button turned off, you can do it actually right here. Let's say, click, I just press on that. So I'm going to just press P to unpause it, and then I'm going to press P right again to pause it. And you see what happened? So that actually did switch. So then you can do a few things like that, and it's still slewing here like crazy. Just to get ready. Or I could take this mouse and drag this down a little bit, press P, and P again. You can do things like that to get ready if you have to. But most of the time it's pretty good, it'll be ready. So here you can see the slew. So now if I unslew, guess what? Well, there's not, and I press P to unpause. Ooh, jeepers, oh, I don't have anything going. So it's just bad news. Oh, we're stalling. Oh, why are we shaking? Because we're starving. I don't think I have any passengers, you know, maybe I don't. There's no people going to be screaming. Anyway, I'll press Y again. Oops, there we go. So hopefully it'll crash again, the computer program, before my plane crashes. No, it won't crash because it's in slew mode. Why? Why is it going around in a circle? I'm trying different things here, trying to move. Joystick doesn't seem to have anything to do with it, but sometimes it stops. Maybe it's the rudder pedals doing this, I don't know. Oh yeah, the rudder pedals are doing something, I think. Bet you if I disconnected them I could find out. Anyway, this is kind of bad. Anyway, I'll just pop out. Here we are, going crazy. I'm gonna hope, like if it goes far enough away from Toronto Airport and then eventually goes close to like a big city or a big airport, it'll load all the buildings, or try to, and run out of memory. Though, I mean, I fixed my system so it doesn't do it too often now, but it still does from time to time, mainly with the Toronto Airport, so I don't fly away very far from it if I'm practicing landing at it. But it's okay, like if I take off from St. John's and spend 3 hours flying to, or longer in this plane, flying to Toronto, it's not too bad because it's only going to crash once when I get near the end. So I'll always make sure I save it anyway, what I'm doing. Yeah, see, look, it's really good here. It won't crash on me. The computer program won't crash. It might eventually. I'll change the views a bit. Oh, look. Aha. Yeah, there's bad news here. It should be crashed already. Maybe it did and it didn't say. Back again. Oh, that made it, I bet. Let's see now what's going on. No? Oh, no. And it's a pause. Wow. Yeah, it looks like a crash but doesn't have the box or something. I don't know. I don't see anything now. Now it's really crashed, maybe. Yeah, well, I don't. Even though we don't have the box, I bet you I can press. Okay, like the focus of the computer is now inside this window, full screen window. So I'll press semicolon. Blink. So it'll even work here, even though you think it might not. Yeah, so there it is. I could save, right? This time I won't. And it's back. I'll press escape just now. See what that does. Nothing. If I press Alt Tab, I can go out to OBS Studio. And yeah, whatever. Yeah, there it is. And flight. So Alt Tab can be your friend too. Continue flying. Okay, so now I lost focus because nothing I do will affect this window. Maybe it's just taking its time. If I minimize that, I'm right back. Usually you can also press just the window key, and that will usually get you out. There we go. So that's the different ways you could try. This looks like it's not crashed, but it wants to. I bet you it will soon. You just press P and unpause it. And maybe if I could steer it somehow to Toronto, I might decide that, oh, I'm really close to the airport and I'm going to try to render it and run out of memory. I don't know. Where this thing is. I can't even control it. I don't know what it is. I think it has to do with the joystick and the rudders fighting each other somehow. So, trying to go that way. Won't let me really. Flying through clouds, and other things. Okay. Anyway. But the basic idea is when this system crashes and you see that little box that says OK, don't press OK right away. You basically try by pressing the Windows key or Alt Tab. You try to come down to where you can click on the bottom window icon, and you might see two, right? One that has the OK box over here, but now it's not here. And you'll see also this one. This has Steam Edition, and you click on Steam Edition so that it gets focus, computer mouse focus. And then the next time you press Windows or whatever, or Alt Tab, and you hover over it, you should be okay then to move your mouse. You won't move right here because it's actually working the right way. But you should be okay then to press, yeah, now it's doing what I'm saying, to press semicolon, right? And when you do, then you can say where you're at. So I said that twice now. So I hope you see what that is, because that'll save you frustration, especially when you get older. So I'm going to get out of this, and then I'm going to quickly show you when it does. It gets through eventually. Pressing escape. I'll show you some of the other things that are also on your computer. Some of the more fancy plans have configuration programs, and you'll just have to try to find them or ask me, because I don't know where all of them are. I try to put them on the desktop when I can. Okay, keep this guy going. Okay, so I'm going to get out of this and Flight Simulator. I'm going to minimize OBS. So, like on my computer, I didn't really put too many of them on the desktop, and I might have put them into this Game Docs or something. Yeah, so you can read manuals, but there's actually programs, and I don't know if I have any here to show you, but I did put some on your computer in places so that you could play with them. But here's one example, like I put on my desktop, Fly Tampa. So if you double click on that, you can pick what month of the year you want it to be. So you can be even silly and say, you know, I'm going to set the calendar date in Microsoft Flight Simulator for July, and here I'll press January and you'll see snow, right? You can do that actually. And you see how that worked, right? So now put it back to October, you'll get fall colors, right? And that's for the global settings. Now I'm going to press Toronto, and you can pick different choices. And I don't think it really matters too much as far as making your system crash. But, you know, try to remember what they were, because it might decide to crash, right? Even on my computer, I've got it all turned on. Look at all different things you can pick, right? Pavement grain. If you want it to look, well, if you want it to look wet, then you, when it's supposed to be wet, you can do that. And same thing with all this stuff, right? Now, some of these might be like, if you're having a lot of trouble and your system's always crashing, you might want to turn off anything that's animated, right? And things like that. But I think it works pretty good. And there, like, you can have static Air Canada things and static vehicles. Click on, make sure all this other stuff is there or not. And I picked transparent, and I don't think that affects things too badly. But, you know, animated things or really, really fancy things, like a really fancy thing would be something that's transparent. That might cause your computer to crash if you, or it might be a suspect for causing it, right? So that's all there is to Fly Tampa. And some of the planes, maybe I got it under, on my computer now, under Steam. Yeah, like I've got a couple. I've got Rex, which is something I was going to show you anyway. And say like FSX, US Cities, X, Los Angeles Configuration Tool. If there are tools, you can usually go, where is it, with Steam, you can go to your library, I think. And where was that to? Yeah, here's the tools anyway, but how do you get to it? It'll show you all the tools, but this is like every last tool. But yours usually lit up white, like, so there's two that I have. Right, so I can set Rex, direct textures, and configure Los Angeles. Right, and that seems to be the only tools that I actually have. at least that belong to Steam. Like this Fly Tampa does not belong to Steam, so it's not here. But that's the things. Yeah, so how would you get to that? Well, you go to the library. Okay, yes, if you hover your mouse over library, you'll see the different things. So there's the tools there. So click. And that's another way to look at them. All right. Now, as you can see, most of these tools are other games and whatnot, right? But if you go looking in the aircraft directories directly in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and there you have to learn a bit about how things are set up. You can sometimes find tools there, and the manuals will usually tell you. So I'm just going to look at Los Angeles configuration, right? Now my computer, I just double-clicked on it. You can see who made it, and you can decide, do you want to be automatically generated, or do you want to have more custom 3D buildings, ones that they made? And that's the only thing, is it? Yeah, I thought there was another little bit there where you could change the nighttime lighting or something. So on my computer, because that would really kill it all, I just put it on AutoGen, and then I turn my AutoGen rate down. Now I forget what I did with yours. I might have left it on more custom 3D buildings. So when you're flying over this area, you'll see, you know, actual custom buildings, which usually reflect what's actually there. They try to make a certain amount of them be the actual buildings. Okay, and then the last thing is Rex, which is a texture tool, and it's kind of cool. So I'm going to just double click on it and say yes, we'll allow this. Almost loading itself. And finalizing. Now Rex can cause you a lot of trouble too, at least on my computer it can. Yours I think it kind of agrees with. So you can see here you got all these different textures that you can choose amongst and turn on and off, and I think every last one is turned on for you. And that's under the toolbar. Eyes for information of the guys in it, and there's settings. And I forget now, but I tried different ones, and whatever I put there is what keeps your system from crashing as much as it might not. Or, you know, I set it up so that your system will do the least amount of crashing that I figured that it still looked okay, but it wasn't crashing very often at all, or that I could ever tell. So this is my computer, and I picked all these different things, like DirectX is an acceleration system that works with video cards and things like that. And you can also do other things here. So, but basically that's stuff you don't want to mess with. But I'll just let you know that it's there. And then you can pick themes, which is where you decide all the different weather and textures that you like and put them all together and put them into one little thing that you call the theme. So I just have one. That's my theme. And that's it. So if you go through it, you can say, oh, clouds effects. And oftentimes I don't really know what the difference is between all these things, right? So they look all a lot similar to me. You know, if you like certain types of clouds or whatever, you can decide, okay, hey, I want to see this more often, because that doesn't always, it depends upon the weather that you have, right? You can decide what ones. So then, if you got a theme set up or you're setting one up, I say, oh, okay, I want Wispy Cirrus more often than not, add it to the theme, and now save to the themes, right? So if I go to the themes, clicking, you'll see it listed under Cloud Effects. Now there it is, Set 16 Wispy Cirrus. Then you got to pick your cumulus and what type of lightning, and that'll appear, right? So you just monkey around with, and you figure out how it works. So I don't really have to tell you everything. But see here at the bottom, high, mid-level clouds, what do you like? Okay, you pick it. And then low-level clouds, you pick what ones you like. And I like, you know, like, yeah, some of them are a bit different, but other ones, like, it really doesn't do anything for me. But you can pick, you know, something that you like there. Lightning and effects, right? And you can pick whatever you like there. This is cool, because you can see, look, you know, dual striker menacing, because it's big and thick and scary looking, or ones that look like feathers, or all this kind of stuff, right? So fingers. Oh, somebody just shared a new theme. Okay, thank you guys. And whatever, right? So there's, yeah, that, you know what I mean, you can try those ones. So that's all under clouds and effects. right? So like if I don't like, right now, if I go to the themes, the only, I see dual strike, that's what I have set. So I was just playing with it. So, but if I go back and I pick lightning, clouds effects, I'm going to pick lightning and effects, and I don't want that, I want vivid, then I click on that and press add to theme, save the themes. And then you also have to install it too, which I'm not doing. Then you go back to your themes and you'll see, look, okay, I got Wispy, Cirrus, Cumulus, and now Vivid, right? And you can do the same thing with all the other things. So you got sky colors that you can pick, which, like, gee, some of these aren't terribly, really all that different, you know. They usually tend to pick the ones at sunset here. Real sky color variants created from photographs, woohoo, around the world. So you can pick all those different ones. And that's sky at the dawn, sky during the day, all right? Woodlands, windy day, precipitation, humid, Cape Cod. I mean, a lot of these are just subtle, right? Subtle difference. But some of them maybe not, like polluted environment. I can see it. Look at that. That looks a bit different, right? But right now I've got, I think it's oceanic is set up or something. Sky at dusk, right? And like that all looks more or less sort of the same to me. Anyway, the same thing with sun, right? There's only so many, there's no extra effects, sub effects, so you don't see that right here. Like back with sky colors, you see there's 3 different tabs. Here you got 0 tabs, so you can just pick whatever you want for, what is there, 8 sun effects, right? Or 11 sun effects. You can pick whatever you like there, right? Water and waves. Now some of them are kind of cool because you can pick, like, do I want global water, you know, inland waters, which look different than the ocean, and tropical, like I went through this and I picked clear coral, what's that? Yeah, just clear coral. It says something else here, I don't know if it's prawn or something. Anyway, yeah, because I like to be able to think of the idea I can see under the water a little bit. But there's different ones there, right? There's ones where it's bright and you can't really see. And everybody's oceans look a little bit different, right? So, like I find the Pacific Ocean looks a bit different than the Atlantic Ocean. At least in pictures, anyway. I can't tell you too much about the Atlantic Ocean flying over it, except for around Newfoundland. Yeah, you can pick shallow coral if you like the look of that one or whatever, right? Wave animation, there's a bazillion different ones. Right? And you can pick all kinds there, and I don't really see a big difference. Maybe if you're really low, you could, right? But you can; these will actually move, and you can watch them, right? When they're installed, or added to your theme and installed, right? And there's even a photoreal one, right? So you know you can play with those. Airports, really, that's sort of like extra things to do with the airports. So like what way your lights look, like airport lighting, you can pick different ones. Whatever you like there. And airport signage. Not every airport is probably going to see that, but you know, and that's basically, this one is just basically there. It's just only one. So what does your airport signage do? And if I look at my themes, that's what I've got there. I just turned it on, right? Where's it to? Airport. Point ground, concrete. I don't see that. I wonder. Anyway, that's what my signs look like, so I must have put it there. It doesn't see it here. I don't see it here, though. Whatever. Now, maybe they just don't bother to show it. It's just either on or off. And whatever. And there's jetway marks, so you can pick, you know, do we see this kind of stuff? The parking marks, that's the same kind of idea. It's just on and off. Surface refraction, I guess that's when. Well, I don't know if I installed some of this. Maybe this is added because I don't remember a surface reflection. Now it says surface reflection, and down here it says surface refraction. And then terrain bump map. Yeah, well, I did play with all this. I remember this stuff. Picking different ones, concrete and grass, or freshly cut grass, or concrete number 2, or concrete number 3. Right? You can pick these ones. I like the cut grass one. I don't know why. And you can do the same thing with your runways. So you got asphalt runways, all different types, concrete runways, look like that. And you can look at what kind of, you want extra enhanced detail, then you can install it and add it to the theme. Runway marks, same thing. Do you want a little bit or a lot, or does it want to look kind of brand new, or what? Asphalt taxiway and concrete taxiway details, do you want them, or yes or no? And what kind of marks do you have? Do you want them like worn out, or what? Actually, I think that's the one I picked, old and worn. Or you can have them look brand new, or whatever. So there's lots of things to play with. And yeah, that was all for that, I think. And sound effects. And that's where you can get right into what kind of rain sounds do I want and all this, right? So maybe when it's hitting your plane type of idea. So there's only 2 sets of rain. Yeah. So, like that. Yeah, okay, so that's precipitation, all these themes. Thunder, what kind of thunder sounds? That's that one. Ooh, that's deeper. Right, so you can pick them. And wind. I think that's the wind from when you're playing as well. Yeah. It sounds a bit more gusty, that one does. So I don't know. Anyway, that's what that is. So like if you can have more than one theme too, right? And then just switch. So if you don't like something, then you can just have a bunch of different ones. So some people get all fancy with it. And myself, maybe I would play with the clouds a bit, and maybe I don't know what else I would play with. Maybe the clouds and some of the airport stuff. And that's about it. I think that's about all the stuff that I added to your system that's just not normal, that you should know about in case. Would you like to back up your texture theme database? Yes, you should say that. The only other thing is, did something go wrong? No? Yeah, it worked okay. The only other thing, and I don't think I've got it here, is that I had added some stuff to do with HOA simulation airplanes. In particular, the ones that I just got, the Airbus ones. Now, I don't know where I put that stuff. Let's see it here. Maybe it's under games or something. But anyway, there's a bunch of manuals, and I think I put a lot of those sort of manuals on your computer. So, Windows C users, myself, and it's possible when I transfer everything over to different computers. I don't really say anything here either. Under Steam though, I might. Not really. Anyway, if you read through the manuals, they will tell you that this plane you can change around a little bit, or you can pick a few things. Usually, there's not very much that you can change, right? And I'm trying to think of something that I could show you. If I go to where? Well, usually to get to the Steam planes, and it's probably worthwhile to show you. This is probably the best way. You go to C, Windows C, Users, double click, and it would be called DOUR. I don't think. Did I change it to your name? Anyway, one of the users. No, sorry. Oops, now I'm thinking of something else. Yeah, well, there is stuff here under app data for the particular users. Yeah, let me see. So under roaming. Yeah, Microsoft, FSX. And yeah, this is where all your stuff is saved. The config files and things like that. So that's nice to know. And that's where it saved your configuration for Toronto. No, that sort of thing is not really there, but that's good to know anyway. The other place where these things will be mainly is on the program files, x86. This is where all the cool stuff is. And you go down and you find Steam. And then under Steam you find, let me think, where is it too? Steam Apps. And then under Steam Apps you find Common. And then you see FSX, that's Flight Simulator X. Double click on that. And then there's two places, under the name of the guys who make stuff, so like A2A is right there. Downloadable content, DLC, and there's stuff under that. And then there would also be stuff under sim objects. So you double click on that and see, ooh, airplanes, okay. Double click on airplanes and there's all the different airplanes. So like if you go to the first one, the A2A Texan, you double click on that, you'll see stuff there. That's where I installed extra textures that I put in myself. Sometimes there'll be a manual here, or that's where you will find the little tools, computer tool, program tools, right? So, like if I go down to, I'm trying to think of one that might actually have a tool. Where's those Airbuses? There we go, 321. That's not the same ones that I got, 'cause I don't think. Yeah, well, all they got here is like a little web page with a checklist, so you can see that. That's usually where they hide those things. I don't know why, right? And then you have that. You can print that out and then draw it, right? It's not too bad, actually. Little tiny checklist. And this is where you would change things, but you gotta really know what you're doing. Okay. Yeah, but if there's a executable program, it would probably be hidden there. And looking at my constellations, Pregnant Guppy, that has a checklist. See, you see what I'm doing? Checklist for the B377. Piper J3 code, look, that has a checklist, right? It might be the same checklist that pops up when you press Shift 10. But it's still good because then you can print it out this way too, right? And like all the different planes. So that's where a lot of your planes are, but not everyone, because if it's a downloadable content plane from Steam itself, you have to go to DLC right here. So program files, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, FSX, DLC. And the silly guys, they just name them by number. So you have to sort of click on all the numbers and see, oh, what is it, right? So here's a manual for the Field Air Airbus. That's the one I got you, yes. And you can see the, I think that's about it, yeah. So you can just click on this manual. And there they go. They give you all kinds of, somewhere in this manual, I think, they tell you about any extra programs that are used for tools, right? If you want to get really realistic with this plane, you can go crazy and put it on expert mode, and it will take you a good half an hour to get this started up. And you have to do everything the right way. And as you can see, they give you, I'm not even hardly getting through it, right? So there's no reason why you can't learn how to fly the plane and do it the right way, sort of, as far as simulator goes, right? And there's a lot to learn to do it the right way. Inertial guidance, alerts and warnings, all of that. And this is only this is a fairly simple simulation of an Airbus. There's actually a full, authorized by Airbus airplane that you can download that has like even more stuff. So have fun, haha! It should be fun. Yeah. So that's Field Air. Sim Objects airplanes, that's just the different ones. Yeah, so they have the A333 and the 343 and 346 Rolls-Royce engines, General Electric. And maybe you can tell me what the CFM is. I don't know what kind of engines they are. And Field Air, what's under that? Airbus. Yeah, just different stuff. Airbus config. That's where they hide that. There we go. So there you go. So if you want to find that, that's the one I was really looking for. If you want to find that, you go to user, or you go to C:\users/ your username, DBOUR for me. And I think yours is just, might be H2, or maybe I just left the name the same as my own name. And then you go to you go to Steam and Steam apps, Common, FSX, DLC, 760843, Field Airbus, and you see Airbus config, and you double click on that, and you can decide do you want to be a beginner, intermediate, or expert. How long does it take for your IRS to align, which is actually, I think it takes 10 minutes. Yeah, so if you put it there. But if you want to be like, oh, I don't want to wait that long, you can pick what system you want, how loud your panels sound, and you can play with, for your, I forget what they call the MCDU, but that's sort of like your flight computer, and you can decide how do I want to put stuff into that, how do I want to, do I have to press the scroll lock to make the keys work or what, right? And how do you want your plane to start up, cold and dark? Next time you go out and fly somewhere, it'll be cold and dark. So, actually that's all it is. Autopilots. So maybe you got your plane in autopilot and you just walk away and you do something else. And some people do that because if you're flying all the way around the world and you press R plus to speed up the system, and a lot of times you can't go much faster than 4 because it just messes up things, then you can be quite a while flying. So people just leave it flying, and if you have autopilots, then it'll stop, and instead of just keep going on past where you wanted to land or whatever, or actually try to land itself if it's totally automated, and you don't want to miss that, so you just say pause 20 nautical miles before the top of the descent, and then the whole system will. So that's cool. So yeah, if you go poking through all these different planes, you might find some cool little Easter eggs, as they call. That's what they're called, in a way. Like this one here, there's nothing there, right? I know pretty much know there isn't. Right? And you don't, it's hard to tell what plane the heck it is, right? This is Vertavia, so I bet you that's, yeah, B-24 Liberator. It's one of those guys, or it could have been my Valkyrie, right? Sim objects, airplanes, the Douglas. Sim object, okay, good. That, yeah. Or Just Flight, DC-3. And Paint Kit. Or the manual, right? So if you go poking around, you can find all kinds of things. But for the Airbus stuff, that's what you want. This is the one I just showed you. I'm just looking to see what else there is here. Yeah, okay. If I go to A2A simulations, that's all the A2A planes I have. I have the B-17, the B-377, Strato, forget what it's called now, and the LO-49. That's the Lockheed Constellation. And I got a Spitfire, and I have a Texan trainer, a T6. Right? So if I go to, I think I showed you a Texan before, right? You can see there's manuals. You can also install just that plane. There's the tools. And like A2A almost always has some kind of aircraft configurator. So a lot of times, like your input configurator is really for people that want to change stuff around for individual planes or something. So it's kind of probably too fancy. And there's the aircraft configurator, right? And you can just, sometimes there's nothing much. You can turn the GPS and decide which one you want. And it's really good for, like, if you've got a Cessna from A2A. I think they make Cessnas. And you can decide if you're actually flying a Cessna and you have a MindStar GNS 430, you can pick that, and that's what you're going to get when you fly it on Microsoft Flight Simulator. And you can decide what kind of landing weights you want and things like that, right? That's with the T6. What else is there? Spitfire. Not much there. Spitfire input, right? Browse controller. Okay, so that's only just the input. Alright. Same thing. I think they all have that. This is just shared. So Lockheed. What's the manual? Okay, the input configurator, that's going to be the same as the other one. Something you're not going to use. Yeah, so you can just pick GPS. I didn't think there was much to that one. B377, here's the manuals. Tools, same thing. It's just an input configurator. And the B-17, that's the manual and the tools. And that just has an input configurator. Sometimes it's all like that. And that's about it, I think. Sometimes in the directory for Flight Simulator X, you might see also like little things there, like a DLC helper and things like that that you can sometimes use. Special edition config, I wouldn't touch that. Kiosk is when you're trying to have it run, and it's on a computer that's put there to sell things, basically. So, I guess the main things there for that. Yep. And these are also famous files that really you don't want to mess with unless you're an expert, but I have airlines config and things like that. And whatever else. Oh, Wings of Power, yeah, that's one I have. It's also A2A, I don't know why. Like, why don't these guys put this stuff all in the same place? Anyway. Whatever. So that's the three places you'll find planes where you can look at them or play with them. So it's under Sim Objects, Planes, Airplanes, or under DLC, and there's double click. It's under different numbers. You have to try to figure out what's what. Let's go back to that. Or under the name of the people who make it, right? So A2A. This is another A2A thing, the Aircraft Factory. And that's their cheaper planes. So it's just a manual there for the F4U Corsair. And let's see, Fly Tampa is there. What do they have? Fly Tampa Configurator, but it's just the same thing, yeah. Scripts, Toronto LC. Alright. So you can, I don't know why they have to hide things like this everywhere, but anyway. Installers and lessons and manuals. And then when you go into manuals, I think that's just FSX manuals. Because there's not really much there. Missions, original equipment manufacturer, and things like that. But if I go to Sim Objects and Airplanes again, like I can show you, you can also put paint jobs that people have done themselves. And that's what I did with the Constellation. So I've got this is the paint job that comes with it. KLM comes with it, I think. I added MBOAC those, and the C69, I'm not sure about that. But like I've added different ones. Yeah, TWA is one that comes with it. So I've added Star of Geneva, Arnhem, and there's another one which I guess is SPA, South Pacific Airlines or something, yeah. So that's one I added too. So you can download a lot of these off of different sites. But you have to learn where to put them and how to edit the aircraft config file. And you got to be careful, because if you mess this up, then your plane is never ever going to work the way it should, or it might not even work, period. So, and this is usually fairly safe, because there's nothing much that anybody can mess about with, right? So it's just text for the most part. There are some things that you have to click yes to make them run. That's usually gauges and things. And you make sure your virus scanner checks them out. But if you go through this, you can see there's different camera definitions and contact points for when the plane crashes and things like that, how the autopilot is going to work, hydraulic systems, flaps and stuff. And somewhere here, I don't know where it is, you would see, because I edited it, it would tell you the different paint jobs you can put on it. I'm looking here, but I don't know. Oh, okay, maybe that's what it was, yeah. Yeah, so there's Flight Sim 0, that's the TWA version. British Overseas Airway Corporation, Flight Sim 1. Flight Sim 2 is C69, which I don't know what that was. And the Star of Geneva, this one I downloaded, so, but you had to edit all this stuff yourself. And the Constellation, SPA, South Pacific, and the KLM, this one I got too. There's two KLMs I got, right? One's for Arnhem, and the other one's for Utrecht or somewhere like that. And yeah, no, that was it, right? So if you actually you can learn a lot, and you can play with things and change them around yourself. Just to let you know, but there's always more to learn. Never ever think that there's nothing more to learn. And people who like to learn, they usually learn, which is important. Okay. So that's about it there. I don't think I'm forgetting anything else. I would regard all this as really just, if something goes wrong, you can probably go through it all and look at the pictures and see what's popping up and say, oh, he was talking about how to fix the crash, and that's where it was. Maybe I'll even edit this and add like little titles, how to fix a crash or something like that. Okay, so I'll go back to OBS, and yep, and we'll see you later. Goodbye.